Join
buddy
us in this
Mike,
episode, part one
and
with Willie J on
we were
wisdom on the
talking. I
front
was like, he's like,
porch.
so how do you navigate and balance your series? I was like, well, I try to set my life up like an assembly line, right?
Yeah.
Integrated task that works in harmony. And that's ironic that you use that word harmony in unison
Yeah.
with their integrated task and to cause them to parallel and coincide with one another. And
Yeah.
that tends to be what balance is to me as well.
Sitting on the front porch with family or friends brings a cherished sense of comfort and connection, where the simple joys of music and conversation blend into moments of shared wisdom and growth. It's a space where life's lessons are exchanged freely, and every interaction is meaningful. Today, whether you're in a digital cafe, a Zoom meeting, or at an in-person event or social gathering, that's your front porch. At Wisdom on the Front Porch, we capture this spirit in our podcast and magazine. Let's join in to today's podcast.
Or if you've got it where it harmonized, where it is in unison and
Yeah,
complementing each other, then it's flowing and you want
yeah,
it to flow. You want it to go well.
that's it.
Yeah.
That's where I came up with the saying in one of my first number one international best-selling books, Rattled Awake, Volume 1. My chapter was called Growing with the Flow. Grow with the flow.
Oh, I love that. I love that. What's the name of the book?
Rattled Awake, Volume 1 is the name of
Okay.
that book that came out last year. So my fifth book is about to drop tomorrow. And if
Oh,
that's
awesome.
God willing, it's called Rebel with a Cause. I'll keep you posted on
Okay,
different.
great. Yeah, let me know and I'll put it on the website too. And they can put it in
Yeah,
the magazine, even if it launches
yeah,
today, it'll
yeah,
still be good in a few months, you know?
absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. And
yeah,
that's how we do. I love that vision though. You said the entrepreneur culture basically. And
yeah.
you said something very interesting. Um, you said something about a lot of entrepreneurs are individuals who may be at home, you know, being parents and different things like that. That's when I first got introduced. My company's 6 years old now, right?
Oh,
But it's
congratulations.
thank you. And thank God is paramount for sure. He is
Yeah.
definitely paramount. But however, I've dabbled and dabbled in a lot of different types of businesses, the nuances of business, maybe for the last decade, maybe like cleaners, I have my own cologne company, all these different things. And you struck a chord there. I was a stay-home dad and would travel and do concerts and stuff, in DC and Baltimore, Atlanta, on the weekends. But typically I was at home most of the time trying to run a business. And then the online business world started to take off and soar.
Yeah.
And the digital era kicked in, and it's amazing what you can do now with technology, as an
Oh,
entrepreneur,
definitely.
right?
Yeah.
All the
Yeah.
different facets and nuances now. You have so many different options. And I think that's where we can really bring home what you just said, with the culture, how it's changed and how it's ever evolving. And some people are still stuck in that era that I'm speaking of, right?
Mhm.
Where, we're hard copy sales where everything's more in your face, come to your place. And
Yeah.
now it's virtual, especially since COVID, right?
Oh, definitely. Yes.
Ironically, um, COVID, I think it was 2020, right?
Right.
And that was when God really blessed PME, Permission and Intent, to really take off in business and the arts and the entertainment world. We were traveling, getting calls to Emmy nominated news stations like CBS, KCTV, the Chiefs. My team had won the Super Bowl when people were telling us to stay inside and like, oh no, are you going? I was like, no, God. Me and my president, Aaron, and I was like, God wants us to go, and then somebody has to go and give some
Yes,
hope. Like, you can't be afraid because fear, it essentially messes with the immune system. So,
it
and it,
does.
right?
Yeah.
And I ended up then we did an ABC 30 right after that. And I think it's ironic. I mean, what I would definitely like to possibly demonstrate with our collaboration and this beautiful theme that you have is to show people that there's this thing called adaptability. Just be able to adapt and don't limit yourself to, you know, one type of environment, or and meaning not just a demographic or a place, but the domain in your mind, like how
Right.
business works. Be able to shift. Like, don't be afraid to make shifts. Just grow with that flow. Don't just go, but grow as you go. It may be painful, you know, discomfort, embrace it, right? It's been a
Yeah.
lot.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, been so much turbulence, you know, burying people, you know, hitting the billboards in Europe. But meanwhile, you have a cousin and an auntie who may have just passed and died, and you still have to keep your mindset and grieving, keep growing, keep grieving,
Yeah.
keep growing, not just going. And that's, you know, we can really, I believe we can really tackle some interesting topics as far as entrepreneurship and the culture, how it's shifted. And it's
Oh,
ever
yeah.
shifting, right? Every
Oh,
year it's,
yeah. Yeah,
it's
I
ever,
think of it like a river. You know, the river is constantly flowing. It never stops. You put a dam up, that water is still flowing. You know,
yeah,
it's either going to keep pushing and pushing till it flows over the dam, or you're going to have the spillways on the side that it can go around. But the
yeah,
river is always flowing.
I like
Um,
that.
Last year I put up a little meme and I said, you know, I love being on the river that's flowing because you can go to the side to where the bank is. You can take a break,
Mm,
take a rest, you know, gather your thoughts, whatever you need to do. If you see something scary ahead, you prepare yourself for it. Or that you can just hit those rapids and just keep going and have fun and explore it that way, you know, but you
yeah,
prepare for it, you know, and
yeah,
just this is, I've never been in a boat before, so I'm going to run rapids today. It's like, no, one, you got
no,
to know how the boat works too. You need to make sure you have a life jacket and the other safety gear and some instruction, you know, plus you also have the times when you're just, you know, flowing along. And if you don't want to run the rapids, you just get off on shore, walk around them, and then go on. But you keep going, whatever you need to do to get there. You just keep going forward.
that's interesting that you would bring that up. One of my clients, and I think I became more aware when I became a certified John Maxwell coach,
Mhm.
and was flown out to Orlando, and a good buddy by the name of Chris Robinson, you know, his vice president, is from where I'm from, actually, St. Louis, and when we talked about the word reflection, but if you're always going, you know, with the pedal to the metal, you have to take time to reflect. And I would have the tendency, right, in my past to just feel like this individual that you're talking about, that I always had to just go, go, go. And that
Yeah.
means, you know, that means I'm not, you know, that I'm losing momentum, and I'm big on momentum. I'm sure you know that comes with entrepreneurship, and, you know, being able to note, you know, momentum. And I have this saying, you take the off of the word momentum, right? And you left with moment, right?
Oh, I
But I
love
learned,
that.
thank you. Thank you. So life is
Good.
about moments and momentum, right? And you capture momentum through moments. And I had to
Mhm.
realize this. God helped me with this. And I shared this with a few clients, is that life is not a destination.
Right.
It's a journey. And on a journey, I remember God showing me this through meditation, and He showed me, I mean, put me on this road, and He said, "Do you travel from XYZ, from LA to St. Louis, you know, or Chicago to St. Louis to New York to if you're driving, right? There's stop offs.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean you're not going to arrive to your designated destiny, rather, you know, so to speak. You have to get off. There's so many nuances with travel. We're like pilgrims, right? So we have to allow moments where we get to the rest stops. You have the rest stops, and, you know, and I had to realize, like, wait a minute, that, you know, this doesn't mean that I'm I don't know why do I want to call it here. Pull up here or something. But that doesn't mean that I'm not moving forward.
Right. Right.
Some people
Yeah.
feel that way, and I was a victim of that once. And I said, wait, I have to get gas. You have to reset,
Yeah.
refuel, refine.
Self-care.
Self-care.
It's self-care. Yeah, because if you keep going and going and going, your health is going to suffer
Yeah,
too.
absolutely.
Mentally, you're going to keep going and going. And it's like, where's that? Where do I
Yeah,
get that refill for my energy? How do I keep
yeah,
going forward and go to the next one? And
yeah.
people talk about burnout because they don't take the time to pause, to do a little bit of self-care, which sometimes is just, especially if you've got stressful things going on. I was in a meeting recently, and they were talking about what do you do to when you've got tough situations and you're going on, and the first thing I think of is you're all balled up inside like this. So what do? You open your hands to release all of that negative energy. And by
Right.
releasing that energy, now you've got your arms opened up for God to fill you in because
That's
you're
it.
taking that breath. You're breathing
Yeah.
God's
Yeah.
breath in, all the negative out, and you're
That's it.
breathing in the spirit and receiving what you need to do. And sometimes it's just, 30 seconds to do this, but when you're all stressed up, you've got to release it. And
Yeah.
somebody said to me, and I love this, you take the Superman pose, or the Wonder Woman pose, but you open up your chest to let the air come in. Because when you're anxious and just pushing hard and going and not stopping, you're kind of all hunched in and closed in together, and you want to open that up, because
Yeah.
once you open that up, then man, you relax, you feel better, your health is better, and you have more clarity and focus on what you really need to do.
You really do. You really do. That's definitely something I've been focusing a lot more on myself. It's not just so much, and that's definitely a revelation from God about, he was talking, taking the Joshua, right? He was the land possessor, and to take the children of
Yeah.
Israel in to possess the land. And he was trying to get them to see something, some duality, that I want you to go and enjoy this land that has milk and honey, but I want you that you've possessed, but I want you to rest. It said rest. So I got this saying from that. It's this quote, and that is rest and possess. Most
Ah,
people just want
that's
to
good.
possess, right?
Well,
Because the more you at rest, you can possess with more clarity, with more finesse, with more impact. You could, like you just said, you can see things a lot more clearly. And then you're able to reflect, and then you
yes.
make good observation, and you're able to observe what you should observe. But when you're in a frenzy, and I think we've been there before, that entrepreneurship, oh, definitely, there's a lot of people suffering with that right now, and
Yeah.
maybe we help them out with that. It's take some time to do some introspection and
Yeah.
to analyze and see, like, God even rested on the seventh day.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, right?
And look
He
how many times Jesus rested. He's in the boat. There's a storm going on. He's down below and he's sleeping. He's
exactly.
taking you to rest, you know?
Yes. Yes. And that's what he's trying to show him, how to rest in the storm, when there's turbulence, when you know, there's life's pressures, and when the thunder is roaring and the lightning is flashing and and your ship is being tossed to and fro, that there is a rest. I like
Yeah.
in the good book where he said there's a rest that remaineth to the people of God. And that
Yeah.
is when you have entered into that rest, you've ceased from your own works, and then there's that flow that you talked about. And Bruce Lee had a quote that said, "Be like water, and like the
Yes.
river." Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
grow with that flow, but you can't do that if you can't find rest in all
Yeah.
climates, right?
I love what Jesus said to them, and I definitely am paraphrasing here. It's like, hey, I'm in the boat with you. Why are you
Yeah,
worried? You think the boat's going to drown with me in it?
with
Come on,
you, right?
you know who
I'm your
I am.
help. I'm your
you
help.
know,
I'm your
and and we
exactly.
need to remember that. It's like, yeah, all this is going on, but it's like
Yeah,
Jesus is with us. We've got God on our side. We've got his spirit in
yeah.
us. And it's like, why are you
That's
stressing out? I'm right here. What is the
right
word that you're
here.
supposed to know? Trust. Trust me. Trust it's going to work out. Yes, we have to do our part. But
That's it.
if we're
That's it.
stressed out and worried about it, I kind of
Yeah.
think we're not trusting. At least when I've reflected back on my times, I know I'm not trusting. I'm
That's
trying to
true.
do it myself. It's like, well,
That's
aren't I
good.
supposed to do this and this? And
Yeah.
it's like, yes, but where's the
Yeah.
trust in that if you're relying on you to do it?
That's
And
it.
yeah,
That's where the rest is in the trust, trusting the process when it's uncomfortable.
yeah,
I'm reminded of the passage which you just said. He said, "For we which have believed have entered into that rest
yeah,
that comes through the Lord." Meaning, and I'm paraphrasing now, meaning a sure indication that you have entered into my rest is that you believe in the
yeah,
process, believe in me and my process. Once you're not believing, once you're in a frenzy, you're right. That's the indication that you're not putting your trust in
yeah.
God and you're trying to force something that doesn't need to be forced. And that's easier said than done, right?
Oh,
That's
yeah, yeah. Especially if you
hard
have past
imagine.
trauma.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh wow.
yeah. If you've got things, I was just talking with some ladies in the group this morning, and you know, there's so many times I still hear that voice back there that, that's for other people, not you. It's like, okay, you tried, just
Yeah.
stop, don't do anymore. Or it's like, why are you doing this? You're not supposed to do this. It's like,
Right.
it's all of these negative that you're never
Yeah.
going to make it, even though you try, and you might get ahead and you might get that one client extra that you were looking for, but then another client, says,
Yeah.
okay, I've gotten where I need to be. Thanks. Goodbye. So it's, it's like the water. It's constantly moving, constantly flowing. Sometimes you're in the rocks and it's
Yeah.
kind of doing a little whirlpool thing going on there. And then but it's still going on. It doesn't stay stuck right there. Can you imagine if a river just came and stuck in one whirlpool, how big it would get? It would just be massive, but it doesn't. It
Mm,
spins around and then it keeps going. Um,
wow.
so you just need to make sure that you don't get caught in that spin. And if you do, you reach out for help,
Yeah.
and that's one thing great about having faith
Yeah.
is there's something bigger than us. The help is always there. I
Oh,
have a plaque in my prayer room. And I do. I have a war room. It's a little closet. We moved into this house and I
same.
says, I'm gonna set one up. But I have a little plaque in there that says sometimes there are no words for what I have to pray. And
Mm,
that's okay with God because He knows what's going on inside of us. He knows our heart, He knows our situation, and He loves us so deeply. And I think in our world today, that real, true, honest love that we get from God, we haven't gotten from other people, so we don't understand it. It's like, how
right.
can you love me when nobody else loves me? I don't understand what that love means. And the good thing about it is we don't have to understand it, but it's still there. The grace,
Exactly.
the grace.
Exactly.
Oh,
The
grace is
grace
is
that's
amazing.
sufficient, right? It's
Yeah.
sufficient. I remember the Apostle Paul, because of the abundance of his revelations and what he had been exposed to, God shared some things with him that most people would never experience in their lifetime. So he got the revelation. He said, well, because of the abundance of the revelations of what God has exposed me to and what I've encountered in him, he left this thorn in me, right? And in Satan buffeted my flesh. And I found it interesting that the Lord didn't take out the thorn, but he gave him a quote and a perspective, and that
Right.
was, "My grace is sufficient for you, Paul."
That's awesome.
Right?
Yeah.
And my strength is made perfect in your weakness. So basically, allow me to leverage your weakness and put my strength into it so that I can get glory back in return. You don't have to be. That's why the weak can say, "Let the weak say I'm strong." And I don't
Yeah.
think and you know what else he showed me? Sister, not long ago, he said that it was because God is so dual, right? He speaks in duality. He speaks in layers, right?
Yes.
So layers, layers of knowledge, layers of his wisdom. And
Yeah.
his love is hard to comprehend. But he said, I was essentially trying to show the Apostle Paul that I love him more than that thorn that he's trying to get rid of, or that infirmity, that I love him. And I think we beat up on ourselves sometimes, and people feel like they don't, like, as you mentioned, they feel they don't deserve to be loved, because I went through that before. I felt like,
Yeah.
and God is saying, you can't really earn my love. Like I've purchased you with my love, and it's infinite, it's everlasting,
It's
and
there.
therefore,
It's
yeah,
always there
it's
for you. You know,
constant,
you
right?
just, it's here.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love you more than your problems. I love you more than your shortcomings. I love you more than your imperfections. And you don't have to try to be perfect. We're imperfect beings. That's why you need me. So I think sometimes we step into the God seat and without realizing and feel like we have to try to dot every I. But just give it your best and God will do the rest. That's the
Oh,
motto.
yeah. Yeah. I
You know what I
like
mean?
that.
Yeah, just give it your best. He just requires
Absolutely.
effort, just the best effort, and he'll take care of the rest of that. And here's it
Whatever.
is. Here's the thing. Back to our rest, right? You like so. This is something interesting. So therefore we can find rest in that, right? That truth
Right.
in His love. There's rest, knowing that, and then we won't have to so much rely on other people to reciprocate that. The ones we feel it should, because we'll already have that, and we'll tap into that love, that
Yeah.
infinite agape love, that unconditional love, that's not love that's based on conditions, right?
Right.
And there's a peace that passeth all understanding that comes from that. And this is what he showed me about what we've been talking about, the journey and life, you know, taking time to rest and resting in him. He said, you know what I meant when I told Moses to tell the children of Israel after, calm down. He had to calm Moses down because he was panicking. And imagine trying to lead, a million
I
plus people.
can't. I just can't imagine that.
So when you say, look, Moses, listen, speak to that, they go forward, but tell them to stand still and see the salvation of the Lord, right? You
Wow.
know what he showed me about stand still? He said, look, say it both ways. Stand still, still stand. And I never knew that. It's stand still. And if you take that phrase, stand still, you go the other direction with that, is still stand, no matter what, still stand. And when
Wow.
you rest in that posture, right, you can still stand, no matter how hard it gets, because you found that place of rest. And then then in another occasion, right, he said, be still and know that I am God, right? Well, the same would be still be strong, still be courageous, still be hopeful, still be, right?
That's great insight. I love that wisdom. Wisdom on the front porch. There you go. That's what I love about this.
Thank you. It's definitely God, and I definitely give him the glory for that, because I
Oh,
was in,
yeah.
and it usually comes when you need it the most, these revelations, right? That wisdom. It's not for the sake of, oh, this is some fancy way to say this, in a different way. It's like, no, literally find that rest. And I'm learning to find that same rest in entrepreneurship, because it's like a roller coaster. It's
Oh,
like,
yeah.
yeah, you're going upward, but you feel like, oh, wait a minute. And you're constantly making adjustments and tweaks. And
Yeah.
then you fall back and say, God say, now remember, rest and possess, buddy.
Yeah.
Find that rest, stand still stand, be still be who you are, and let me be God, and see my salvation
Yeah.
and see your way out, And
Yeah.
that's where we've been striving to live, these different,
Yeah.
nuance. It's so many different
Yeah.
times. Yeah. And
Yeah.
we get to share this with other entrepreneurs. There's the next generation is what I typically love too, is that I coach,
Oh,
some
yeah.
as young as, not just my daughter at 18, but some that's still in high school and in middle school. And you get to impart this wisdom to the next generation that say, listen, I know we're living in a microwave society, and I
Right.
know things progressed, and the pace and tempo of life is so fast, and everybody
Oh,
wants it right
yeah.
here, right now, right now, right now. And like microwave, bing, and this is like that. I was like,
That's right.
don't. because that's anxiety. This is a
Thank you for listening to
society
Wisdom on the Front
that's
Porch.
full of anxiety.
Part 1 with
Oh,
Willie J.
definitely.
Thank you for joining us today on Wisdom on the Front Porch with your host, Ellis Kirkpatrick. You can find us on our website, wisdomonthefrontporch.com, see previous episodes of the podcast, and view issues of the magazine. Did you know you can submit questions, leave reviews, or suggest topics? You can also tell us where your favorite front porch location is and what it means to you. We hope you gain value and insight from today's or previous talks. We appreciate your support for us so we can continue to provide value and expertise to you and others. Subscribe to Wisdom on the Front Porch magazine and receive a second year absolutely free. This is a limited time offer available exclusively to those who mention the name of today's podcast. Join in next week when we bring you another great insight into the world of entrepreneur culture and lifestyle. Make today a great day. Always believe that something wonderful is going to happen.